Hey guys, what's up? Shadow Star here. Something to quick say that is that you know how sometimes your Nintendo Switch may have issues. Now, one of the issues I just encountered last week is this blue controller kept sliding off without pushing the button. So, what I did was go on YouTube, look up how to fix that permanently. So you should be able to tell here. There's a lock here, and there's one here, but this one's metal. You could tell by the difference. Now, this is pretty simple to do. Problem is, it may void your warranty. So just keep that in mind and be really careful. But it's a lot easier having to fix the locks permanently, fix them, than sending it to Nintendo for 10 days or not having your Switch back for a while. So your best bet would be to purchase on Amazon or whatever else metal locks. These guys. They will fix the issue permanently. Now there's a difference between left and right here. So you can get those on Amazon for $8. Now the problem, like I said earlier, let me focus the camera again. Problem, like I said earlier, is if you take a close look at this one chipped somewhere. This one chipped right about here, it looks like. So the problem that it caused, and I replaced it with a metal one. The problem that it caused is when it was locked in place, this could still come up without pushing the button. Now, over time, if you don't take care of this or send it to Nintendo, over time, it will just immediately come right loose, interrupt your game, stuff like that. Also, I'd be live streaming this right about now if I could, but it says it has to wait 24 hours or more. I'm already verified. I don't know why it's saying it's not, so I'm going to have to upload this video. So, placement metal lock. See? Now requires you to push that. It is safer, and it does put a little bit of extra weight on your Switch. But be careful not to drop it. There's now metal in here, but it'll fix the issue, as you can see. Now I gotta push this button to release it. Now, I'm gonna fix it with this one. I'm going to go ahead and put a metal lock into this, so right now, so I don't have to worry about it doing this on its own and then causing problems. So, this will require a bit of disassembly. You will have to unscrew some screws a little bit. And then, hold on. Sorry, I just zoomed out a little bit. Just want to check the battery real quick. Okay, battery's fine on my phone. So it'll require a bit of disassembly. The requirements are $8 locks, metal locks on Amazon for $8. These showed up late, but I got them now. And there is a difference. They're both different, right and left. They're different. Now, you will need 3 screwdrivers or one of these plus these 3. You'll need a tri-head, which I will be using in a minute. We'll be using in a little bit. Let me fix the camera real quick. There we go. You will need a cross head and a flat head. You will see why with the flat head in a minute. First thing you're going to do, and be very careful when getting this open because there are ribbon cables. If one of those break, you have to replace both controllers for about $80 in total, depending where you live, depending where you go. Now, first thing I'm going to do, use my tri-head here. I also looked up how to do this on YouTube. I got the blue one taken care of. I'm going to do the same with this one real quick. So, first thing you're going to do, use your tri-head, get all 4 screws out. I'll let you know as soon as that is done. Okay, so I got those out. This is the tricky part because you don't want to lose this button here. The lock release, you don't want to lose that. So all 4 screws are right here. They're pretty small, so be careful not to lose those. Now the tricky part is to get this open very carefully, because if you're not careful, you could break the ribbon cables and then have to replace your controller, your switch controller. So how I'm doing this is lifting here like this, carefully, very carefully. And then back here, you kind of want to push a little bit on the bottom here. It'd be a lot easier if you had prying tools. There you go. Got it open. Now, very gently, so you don't damage your ribbon cables, as you can see right there. One there and one back here near the battery. Your next step be to very gently and carefully remove your tri head or whatever, grab your other screwdriver, put in the cross head. That's the next step. Then what you're gonna do next, very, very gently, see this little screw right here? You're gonna take that out next. So that's gonna come out next, and do it carefully. Since the blue controller was a bit easier for me to take apart, because I am left-handed. Slowly take this out carefully. It is a very small screw. Don't lose that. Let me show you real quick. Look how tiny that is. Very small. I'm going to put it right here next to the other screws. Don't lose that. Your next step, this part's the easy part, but it's still tricky because of the ribbon cables. This should be able to come right off, like that. Whoop, this came off. Now I lost a little button, but it's right here. So if this comes out of place, look here. You'll be able to see the little slot there, and look at the button here. You'll see it has a little bit of a rectangle on there. It's kind of difficult to see, but match that rectangle up with the back of your switch controller, and then that's it. Don't lose that. Place it down. It has to be like that, or things could go wrong. Your next step is to carefully get this screw out right here. That looks like a little bit of a staple. That is the next step. Remember, if you want to test your buttons, go ahead. You can see it lighting up, so they work. Still be very careful though, because if you're not careful, you'll damage your switch permanently. So you want to get this out, this little screw out, like that. This guy, kind of hard to see. I'm going to place that next to this one. I don't like to put him with the other ones because then you'll have a hard time telling which screw goes to which. Now grab your small flat head. Oops. And then gently and carefully get this out. This little guy right there out. Right here. Sorry, it's kind of hard for me to keep track if this is on the camera, but that is the next step. So I will let you guys know when that is out. Okay, guys, so I managed to get that out okay. As you can see, it looks like a little staple, but I'll explain how to place this in correctly, in the correct way, once we get to that. Next step would be, this one's a tricky step. Now, remove this lock. That's your next step. Let's say it's chipped, even though this one's not chipped, but the blue one was, so I got that replaced. So you're going to have to be very careful here because you could lose a spring. It could go flying as you're trying to get it out. Now, with your crosshead or your tri-head, I am going to use the tri-head. Very carefully get it out. This will also be a little bit tricky here. So I'm going to have to go in a little bit. I'm going to hold here and gently try to get this out carefully like that. Oh, lost the spring, but it's right there. Hold on a minute, guys. Uh-oh. I lost the spring. It's caught on ribbon cables. It still works. So if that happens, make sure it's a magnetic screwdriver as well. See how I use this to get it out? This little spring out? It's a little magnetic, as you can see here. Right there. That's very handy to have. Do not lose a spring. Now, there's a difference between the left and right. This one's not chipped, but you want to look at it and make sure you're grabbing the correct lock here. Now, grab your metal locks and match this one with the correct one. I should have 2 of the metal locks here that have not been used. It is saying it is this metal lock here. Now let me double check that that is correct. I will take these 2 locks real quick and compare them. And that is the correct lock, it looks like. We are good. Now, grab your metal lock, grab your little spring, and place the spring into here like that. Make sure you're using the correct lock because it is mirrored with the other controller. It is mirrored. So, your next step, place it back in gently. You can still do this if you want to test, see if it still works. It is working. Be careful with this part because this part is where it gets a bit tricky. So I'm going to very carefully put it in with this lock thing going up on the switch. Make sure it's metal. It is metal. Or you could do the same with plastic, and then eventually they will chip. If you do metal, it'll probably be a bit easier. Now, being very careful, place it back in place as it was with the other one. Now, grab the tri-head, carefully hold that spring. Carefully hold the spring here. I apologize, I am not in the camera. I would zoom in, guys, but I want to get my spring in place. It's not in place yet. So, this is always the tricky part because you can lose these springs easy. So what you want to do, head up, make sure the spring goes into that part right here, into this black part here. So, that's always the trickiest part. Now, since it's mirrored, it's always harder to do, but I can manage to get it in there properly like that and gently without losing the piece here. Right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and have to pause this for a second. I'll get back to. I'll let you know when I get back in. Be back in a minute. Okay, guys, so I got it back in within like maybe 5 seconds. After I took a closer look, you want it like this. Let me focus the camera real quick. You want it like this. Make sure it is the correct lock. See how it is? Now, you're going to take your little staple piece and reconnect it. You will, let me take it closer. You will see the two little lines. They're very difficult to see. There's one right there, kind of look like a letter C. And then there's one on the bottom. That is where these parts go in. So I kind of look like letter C's. So once that's in, and make sure this little hole here matches with the screw hole there. So you're going to make sure you place it in the correct way. And then once you have it in, grab your flathead real quick, flathead screwdriver, and gently press it in. Make sure it goes in properly. Carefully here. There we go. Uh-oh. It's a little loose. Hold on. Uh-oh. I missed it. Let me focus and show you. So that's an easy fix. That's not in where the C is. So I'm going to have to take this out again for a minute. Just for a second. Very carefully. Then try to place it the correct way so I can get the screw into this guy. Right in like 1 minute, guys. I'll show you once it's in. It's hard to tell. Got it. Okay, I got it. That is in now. Make sure it's properly in. Gently, like this. Make sure the light still works. It does, so everything is working okay. Now the next step is to take this very tiny screw and put it, oh, hold on. Let me change it to the crosshead real quick. Take this really small screw and screw that little staple piece back in. Very, very carefully, you guys. One slip up, you could damage your switch permanently. Like this. Just like that. It is still turning, unfortunately. It should not be doing that. Well, did I grab the right piece? I don't think I grabbed the right piece. I grabbed the wrong piece. I apologize for that. You don't want the little silver screw. You want the little black guy. This guy. About 1/4 of an inch, it looks like. Or smaller than that. You want this guy. You should be able to tell. It's on there. I apologize for that. Not the silver one. You want the little black one. And then put it. Hold on. Make sure that is the right size. Let me make sure that's the right size. Hold on. I'm going to pause for a minute and I will let you know. Okay. It is the correct size. So your next step would be to get this little guy in like that. In like this. And be careful. You're going to have to go make sure it's screwed tight, hand tight. Buttons still work. I'll push button on the switch real quick. We are good. Oh, it turned my switch on, but that is okay. I'm going to turn my switch back off, and that should go off. Okay, next step. would be to put this on. Same step as before, like this. And just a reminder, make sure your switch is on, like your little button for the spring is on right about here, as you can see. Make sure that is the correct length, you can tell. So the next step is to reconnect this guy like this, like that, and then take your still being very careful with this because ribbon cables are fragile. You take your little tiny screw here and reconnect, and then screw it back in your switch controller like that, just in case it drops. You take your switch very carefully, still put it right into this right here. Now I'm gonna have to do this very carefully. Make sure I get it in right there. We are good to go. Sometimes you'll have to go back and forth a few times. Make sure it's not too tight because you don't want to damage your switch. Then these are folded a certain way, as you can tell. It goes back on, like, don't force it, and be very gentle like that. Voila, we are good, and now you can tell it is replaced with the metal lock. And then the final step would be to put all 4 of those screws in, and then you should be all done. Now, one thing to point out that I did not point out in the beginning of this video is, first, let me get my tri-head. I got it now. One thing to point out with your Nintendo Switch controllers, even both controllers, it will be a bit tricky to get these in the correct because sorry about that, because the screw likes to go this way and in, or this way, or any direction. That is the hardest part. That is one of the trickiest parts with the screws. So I'm going to go ahead and do a different screw here. Let me turn that off. I'll put it in this way. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Get them both in. And I'll let you guys know when they are in. But I also want to show you one thing once I get to that. So I'll be back for just a second. Okay, guys, so I got 3 of the screws in okay. As you can see, with some of them, you're going to have to kind of push and turn to get them in. But be careful because you could strip the screws and you don't want to do that. I have one left here. So the best trick would probably be to put it in like so, and then take your tri-head screwdriver and screw it in. Even though that is tricky, because another reason, as you can see, it will do that. While you want to actually hold that. There we go. So I just want to let you know, it could be a little tricky. Now, I'll show you all buttons work. Everything works. And now, you won't have the problem anymore. You will now have to push this button in order for it to go through. So I just want to let you know that is how you fix it with this remote. You can also do the same thing with this one. Make sure that you're using the correct locks, because it does matter. Make sure you know which locks go to which. Now, let me show you real fast. You won't have that issue anymore with this coming off. Push the button, it comes on. Let me go ahead and turn the brightness up a touch. All buttons work. This one works. The home button works. This works. All buttons should work okay. So that is how you permanently fix a switch lock. Now, one last thing, guys. If you end up doing this, you could void your warranty again. And if you choose to do it, like I did, get the metal locks like these. I'm going to hold on to these just in case. So, and like I said before, there's a chip in this one, as you can see right here, which causes your switch to go like this. So just want to let you guys know, and that is all. Get it on Amazon for $7.99 plus shipping, handling, whatever. Might be late, like mine was. So that is how you fix your switch locks for good. All right, guys, that is the end. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys later. Bye.